don't like it for a number of reasons. That's a pretty soft way to put it. First off, this would be the equivalent of me basically not getting along with my chief of staff and putting out on Twitter that my chief of staff is a terrible person and he's not doing a great job as chief. It's childish, number one. The other thing I worry about too is that everything that President Trump does, look, I'm a Republican, so I'm excited about a lot of his policy agenda, but some of this tone issue, what concerns me the most is that this is going to begin to set a precedent for what presidents in the future have to act like. So, things like being outrageous on Twitter may be what the next person running for president says I need to do. And that's way below the office of president. And as I put out yesterday on Twitter, I think it's below even the office of city councilman.
The situation with the Attorney General that you mentioned, Joe, Jeff Sessions appears to be staying the course, at least for now. This despite attack after attack from the outsider president, who Sessions helped give his first dose of establishment credibility when he was a candidate. There's the whole issue with this president of loyalty. Yesterday morning, during our show, we saw the president fire off tweet after tweet, taking aim at Sessions. And later, in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, when asked how long he could continue to criticize Sessions without firing him, he said, quote, "I'm just looking at it. I'll just see. It's a very important thing." And the president downplayed the significance on Sessions' loyalty, saying, quote, "It's not like a great loyal thing about the endorsement." Adding, quote, "When they say he endorsed me, I went to Alabama. I had 40,000 people. He was a senator from Alabama. I won the state by a lot, massive numbers. A lot of states I won by massive numbers. But he was a senator. He looks at 40,000 people and he probably says, what do I have to lose? And he endorsed me. So it's not like a great loyal thing about the endorsement. But I'm very disappointed in Jeff Sessions." Those answers drew deeper questions later in the day.
Well, Mika, why don't we stop right there? I mean, that's just, it's confounding, and it shows just how this man knows no loyalty. Donald Trump does not respect loyalty. He does not give loyalty. Jeff Sessions stuck his neck out early on when the Republican establishment was all against Donald Trump and said he didn't have a chance of winning. But this is how he treats people. He throws them under the bus. And what he doesn't understand, Mark Halperin, is in Washington, D.C., as I had a former old sage tell me in Washington, we're all in a little boat here, Joe, and we all row in a little boat. And if we're not all rowing in the same direction, things get pretty ugly pretty fast. And what goes around comes around. And we're seeing that with Sessions. Could you talk about the other side of this story, though? There's a reason why Breitbart came out yesterday attacking the president and was on the side of Jeff Sessions. There's a reason why there are a lot of Republican conservative, quote, nationalists, the sort of Bannon wing of the party, that started supporting Donald Trump, felt comfortable with Donald Trump. And a lot of that had to do with Jeff Sessions. Right now, what does Donald Trump have to lose by throwing Jeff Sessions overboard and treating him this badly?
Jeff Sessions was on his career and the issues he's fought for, been the hero of that movement for 2 decades. Donald Trump has been there for about a year and a half, 2 years. And so the loyalty to Sessions runs deep. You saw it on Breitbart yesterday. You see it in a lot of conservative media. I think the president right now is acting very reminiscent of Bill Clinton when he had an independent counsel on his back. It's very easy, as the president suggested, to say, well, this is all about the presidency and the independent counsel's out of control, and he blames Jeff Sessions for that. It's much worse to have an independent counsel going after you than the regular Justice Department for a variety of reasons. And the president's mentality, going after Sessions, even though it goes right to a conflict with his political base, is based on the fact that he's looking for a way out. He's so frustrated by the specter of the independent counsel, and he thinks, contrary to the advice of many of his advisors, that somehow getting rid of Sessions is going to solve his problem. Most people around him are telling him it will only make it worse. Well, they'd like him to patch it up.
He tends to reignite fires around him, and I think there is a lesson here about Washington, Joe, and that is when you're attacking a member of the Senate, you're attacking the entire Senate. You're attacking all of us, is what they will think. Throughout the day, Jeff Sessions got support from Republican members of Congress, in particular, his former Senate colleagues.
I worked with Jeff Sessions for 9.5 years in the Senate. He is one of the most honest people you would ever know. He is a man of very high integrity, and he is an Eagle Scout.
He's a man of courage. He's a man of purpose.
I find him to be a man of integrity.
I think that his independence has been proven by his willingness to recuse himself.
This could have been handled in a different way. We don't need this. It's not good for the president. It's not good for politics in general.
Jeff has been very loyal to the president, and I think he deserves loyalty back.
I personally would strongly recommend against firing Sessions. The fact is that Jeff Sessions was the first senator to support President Trump. He stayed with President Trump when he was 10 points behind, and all the way through the various the sports talk tapes and everything else.
I hope the Attorney General doesn't resign. I hope he's not fired. If you look at so much of what the President of the United States wants to accomplish on his agenda, Sessions is central to that.
If President Trump fires Attorney General Sessions, do you think that this Senate will approve whoever he appoints after the fact?
It raised the question about whether or not anybody will want to do it.
Wow.
And Lindsey Graham said in a statement, quote, Jeff Sessions is one of the most decent people I've ever met in my political life. He's a rock-solid conservative, but above all else, he believes in the rule of law. Jeff understands that we are a nation of laws, not men. On occasion, I vigorously disagreed with Jeff, but I've never once doubted his integrity or sense of fair play. President Trump's tweet today suggesting Attorney General Sessions pursue prosecution of a former political rival is highly inappropriate. Prosecutorial decisions should be based on applying facts to the law without hint of political motivation.
Wow.
To do otherwise is to run away from the long-standing American tradition of separating the law from politics regardless of party. And Casey Hunt, you hear these Republicans that have stood behind Donald Trump nonstop and defended him when they should not have defended him. Defended him when he was defenseless. We've seen it now for 2 weeks. This week it's Jeff Sessions, and they're coming out and they're strongly saying, back off, Mr. President. And we saw some last week do the same thing when he started attacking Robert Mueller. I can only imagine what it sounds like behind the scenes yesterday, what it sounded like yesterday. Tell us how concerned Republicans are with Donald Trump seemingly spinning out of control over this investigation.
I mean, incredibly so, Joe. We've talked all the time about times when the president has seemed to cross lines and whether Republicans would step out in opposition to him. Sometimes you have been critical of them for failing to do it. This is not going to be an area where that happens. For as strong as all of those statements were that we just watched, and as Lindsey Graham's was, it is stronger behind the scenes. I had one aide use the phrase constitutional crisis to talk about what might happen in the event that the president fired Jeff Sessions or that Jeff Sessions resigned. I don't think that there's a way that Republicans would move forward with confirming another attorney general based on the private conversations I had yesterday about it. I do not think that this is a thing that could possibly happen. There's been conversations out of the White House about recess appointments. That's something that, both sides have been blocking recently, and Democrats and Republicans say that's what would happen here. If there was no attorney general, we could go for quite some time without having one. That would have incredible implications.
Because he's going to tell you exactly how he feels.
Anthony, he's told all of us.
And in some ways, guys, that's very refreshing to me.
Yeah, he's told all of us about draining the swamp in Washington, that Washington is stalling his agenda. He's going on the road and doing these rallies. And even this morning, his latest tweet is going after a Republican Senator, Lisa Murkowski, because she was one of the 2 Republican holdouts, or the ones who voted no yesterday, just to debate repeal and replace.
Right. And so to me, that's a classic New Yorker letting you know exactly how you feel. What I don't like about Washington is people do not let you know how they feel. They're very nice to your face, and then they take a shiv or a machete and they stab it in your back. I don't like it. Anthony, I'm a Wall Street guy, and I'm more of a front-stabbing person, and I'd rather tell people directly how I feel about them than this sort of nonsense.
Well, have you heard directly from her?
Let me finish. Now that senator knows how the president feels about her, and why don't you fix it? He's the president of the United States. He's the leader of the free world. come here and let's fix it and let's work together for the agenda and for the goals that we have that are going to better the American people. That's what we have to do.